Hello, I'm Fox. I am the creator of the Lamia Bunyip from twitch.io. I'm creating a quick tutorial video to show off some of the features as well as how to set her up. So I highly recommend using VNyan. I'll be making a tutorial for VNyan in this video for how to set her up. You can also use VSeeFace. Some of the things should work about the same. It's just a different video, so I'll set that one up next. But to begin, you download VNyan, extract it somewhere, and if you'd like to set up a profile for VNyan, you can do that by going into the properties page and adding a to the shortcut pointing to VNyan. You can go -p space and then the name of whatever you want. In this case, I put tutorial. Otherwise, you can just use VNyan directly. Anyways, let's get started. So I'm going to launch VNyan, and I have a slow computer, so this will take a minute to do. And there we go. We have VNyan launched. It took my computer about 5 minutes to load, so I had to cut the feed there for a few minutes. So it'll prompt you, welcome to VNyan. Please load the file. The file provided on the itch.io page is a VSF avatar format. So go ahead and click load and find your file. I have a lot of files here. Excuse the mess. Somewhere around here. There we go. So the file we want is the Bunyip Lamia VSeeFace avatar format. So go ahead and click that to load it in. And there'll be a select box, automatically load avatar every time. Go ahead and keep that enabled. The next page, it asks you some basic tracking questions. VSeeFace does support hand tracking if you'd like to use it. Ideally, though, you would have a leap motion capture to go with the hand tracking, but it does technically have hand tracking. The bare minimum to use this is either have Face ID capable iPhone or have an actual webcam. And in my case, I have an actual webcam, so I will select that for the tracking. And I'll select the camera. Mine is an HD Pro webcam C920. And it's going to ask us if we're using any of these. Go ahead and select not in use. We do have some expressions I have set up, but we can set that up later. For now, we're just going to have a blank slate to work with. And here is all the expressions I have programmed for the model. We will set these up in a configuration. But if we wanted to hotkey them, we could hotkey them now. I think there's something like 30 or 40 different expressions here. But for now, we'll just click OK. And then if you wanted to log into your Twitch, you can log into your Twitch. Otherwise, we can just skip the interaction for now. And there we go. So she's a little plain right now because nothing is set up for her. So what we're going to do is we need to resolve a lot of problems. So bottom left, if you've never used VNyan before, it gives you some basic commands on how to manipulate the camera as well as reset tracking and the model. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go into menu and we're going to click settings. And we're going to go into the tracking layer. And we're just going to go through the list here one at a time. I'm going to cut the feed to a pre-configured model so we can show what it is. The settings I use and I highly recommend using. So I'll be right back. Okay, sorry for the rough cut, but we are back. I loaded up VNyan again with my configuration, so rather than going through these, playing with them left and playing with all the toggles, trying to get dialed in, I'm just going to show you what I have for setups. So for the arm angle, I use about 69-ish. You can dial that back and forth depending on what. So the model does come with some arm flip, so you can have this set up to like 74. All the arm angle does is just adjust the arms back and forth. So I have that set to about 69. For the eyes, use eye bones and you can link them. I don't think I have winking enabled on this model, so just keep them linked. Mirror tracking. So if you have mirror tracking enabled, it will act as if you're looking into a mirror. When you look right, the model will look stage right. Without that, it is kind of reverse. When you look right, the model looks right. I prefer that on. Keep plant feet enabled and keep track blend shapes on. If you want to track hands, there's the tracking for it. You just enable that and then you enable arms. But I'm just going to scroll through these settings. Most of these are default, except for the head tilt range. I dialed that down to 1, but I'm just going to slowly go through these, commenting on a couple of them as I see them. You want to have some jitter removal and tracking smoothness, because without the jitter removal, they are very twitchy with looks. So I usually have the jitter removal set to about 2 or so to smooth things out a bit. Tracking smoothness is about 0.1 as well. Again, these are just preferences for what I like. If you wanted arm tracking, you need to turn on arm tracking, and what it will do is it will allow, if you enable track hands, that when you move your hand up, let's see if I can get her to do it. Yoo-hoo. There we go. The hand goes up with it. Otherwise, you can just keep that off, and we can apply arms off. And that is it for the tracking layers. If you want something more complex like ArcKit tracking, or if you have leap motion, this is where you would change it. But for now, this is just a basic tutorial. We're just getting things set up. So now we're going to go into tracking effects. I highly recommend having all 3 of these enabled. It gives the model more lifelike motion. So here's my settings for the body tilt, breathe motion, and arm sway. Feel free to change these as seen fit, but that's what I have. And then we're actually going to go to graphics, and we're going to enable Sprout 2. This will be handy for OBS as a Sprout 2 capture if you wanted to do that. Otherwise, you can just use a game capture with transparency, and I believe that works just fine. So now let's go into audio. We're going to scroll down and we're going to go to lip sync, and we're going to select our microphone, and we're going to enable the smoothing to about 84. What this is doing is when you speak, it's mimicking the mouth motions to try to fit the sound. And if we turn down smoothing, we can see that it's doing it very, very quickly. Some people like that. That's fine. I have mine set to about 82 to make it a little more realistic, lifelike. And it generally works pretty okay. And that's pretty much it for the basic settings. If you go to miscellaneous, you can adjust the camera and position settings. So if you wanted her to be in the corner like this, for example, you can save that as the default position setting and default camera setting, so that when she loads in, she'll be automatically in that spot. But for now, we'll just leave that plain. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this configuration to make her unique. Okay, I'm recording this middle part a second or third time now because I screwed up and it's made it necessarily complex. We're going to do this a simple way. So what we're going to do to get all the clothing toggles, facial toggles, body toggles, and various colors done is we're going to open up the node graph. And one of the first things we're going to do, if you want this, is we're going to go to blend shape, make a blend shape. We're going to open up the monitor section here, put that to the side, and we're going to call this tail space wiggle. And that's the name of the blend shape here. And what that is, we're going to set the value to 100, use as a toggle. And what this is it's going to enable the tail to start animating. So I'm going to send the signal through again. Model loads, and now we have a tail animation. Great. So let's do the second part. Let's do all the clothing and configurations. We're going to add a new graph. We're going to call this graph expressions. Rename it. Click load. It's going to ask if we're going to delete everything here to replace it. We're going to say yes. And we're going to use the toggles.json file that's included in the itch.io download. And it's going to come with a lot of it pre-configured to my preferences. And it's going to be all set up on model load. And we can send the signal from model load to see what it looks like by just clicking through. By right clicking and saying send signal. And there she is, fully configured. If you'd like to change any of these or preview what it would look like, I have not set hotkeys set up here. So if you wanted to say change a different hair, you would first send the signal to toggle the hair off and then select a different value. So like hair 2, for example, and then we'll send the signal through. And there is hair 2. This model was made in about a week as a challenge, so hopefully there's not too many errors around, but she should be pretty okay for streaming. And let's say we want her to have glasses. Well, I have a hotkey for that. It's in the bottom left corner. We can send the signal through to hotkey to enable glasses. Or let's say we wanted the glasses to be there on load. So what we do is we drag the node here for application start, and we connect it to the glasses here. Now, when the application loads and the model loads, it will automatically enable the glasses for us. But that's the quick and easy way of doing it. Essentially, how it works, and you can look up YouTube videos that are far more advanced than this, is a node that's causing something to trigger. The line sending a signal through to something else, to a blend shape, and the blend shape is being enabled, which is changing the model. That's the quick and dirty of it. But that concludes for the node graphs, and we're going to go into the expressions now. So, completely forgot, addendum to the video here before it's actually over, is we need to cover expressions. Expressions are basically blend shapes, except they have conditionals to them. So I've included frown, browse up, smile, browse down, tongue out, and wide as blend shapes to configure it. So if we go to, say, smile, for example, I can smile physically with my face, and she smiles as well. Tongue out, eyes wide. So just a couple configurations to go over, and then we'll be done for reals this time. So what you do is you're going to click add expression, and you're going to add a blend shape conditional and an output value. And what this is the blend shape name is actually going to be the name of one of these white values over here. And these are tracking points on the face. So when VNyan recognizes a facial expression happening on the face, it will register to trigger this output value, which is a different blend shape. So on frown, we are looking at mouth roll lower, and I have this set 10 for my own tracking. You'll have to configure this for your own tracking. Maybe your camera isn't even good enough to support it, but this is what I have. Output value, set value, frown value 100, and then we're going to do smooth tracking of 0.2. So this gives it a very gradual frowny face, just a couple fractions of a second, so it's not instantaneous, so it doesn't look jarring. Next up is I have eyebrows up, and this is tracking the brow inner up. I have it set to 30, and it's calling the blend shape eyebrows up. So here's all the values for it. There's eyebrows up. Next up is smile. This one's tracking mouth smile. I have it tracking the right side because my camera is actually angled funny. So you can track both left and right sides if you want them synced, or if you have lopsided camera like me, you can just track one side. And there's the smile. Here's the values for eyebrows down. And then we have tongue out, which I'm actually using, rather than sticking my tongue out, I'm having mouth pucker, which is basically duck face, essentially. And when you do that, it's causing the tongue to go out. And feel free to set whatever value you want. If you don't want this to be a facial toggle, you can go back into the node graph here and make a new graph. And you can actually set a keybind. We'll set a hotkey here. And we'll call it a blend shape. And we'll call the blend shape tongue. And we can actually set a hotkey for that. Set the value as 100 and use a toggle. So now if I were to do, if I didn't want it, say, as an expression, I can actually set it as a toggle. So that's the other way of doing this. If you don't want to do expressions, you can just go through and make hotkey toggles for each of the blend shapes. That is an option. So, but I prefer to have some of these somewhat automated to the face. So here is eyes wide, eye wide right. Again, my camera leans to one side, so it generally favors the right side of my face. And the blend shape is called eye wide. And there it is. So now that covers everything. Again, I will include the node graph for the toggles as a download. You just click load and it should load everything here, and everything should be ran off the avatar loaded thing. So this could be fired off and on, and feel free to change any of the values to what you like. But yeah, that's it for Reels this time. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the model.